What's up guys, and welcome to another episode of me talking about 5 interest checks that have stood out to me in the last week. In this episode, we'll be talking about a key set inspired by gemstones, flowers, and keyboards that you don't really see elsewhere. Stay tuned till after the break. First up is the GMK set, first posted in August by Winex. This is GMK Amethyst, a purple and white key set inspired by the amethyst gemstone. I know what you're thinking. Merlin, aren't you somewhat colorblind so you can't really see purple? That's true. However, this is the thing about purple key sets. The fact that I'm not sure exactly what color they are makes me more curious about them, so there's this nagging itch that I've got to find out more. Current kits are core set covering most standard layouts, an alternate core set with all keys purple including the alphas. There's a novelty kit featuring several gemstones, an extension kit, and spacebars. There's also a dust mat in place. Let's look at my favorite part of any IC, the renders. Looks like the boards chosen for renders are the House by Hand Engineering, the J02 from J, and the U80A from RamaWorks. At this point in time, there are no vendors or price in place. But it looks like there are still quite a few items on the to-do list, such as finalizing the kits and talking to vendors, so hopefully we'll see updates on this very soon. This isn't the first purple set that has shown up in our community, but if I had to pick a set which this looks like, I'd say it would be Violet on Cream. I'd love to say more about this set, but as you guys know, color blindness right here, so I'm gonna leave it up to you guys to leave a few comments down below and let me know what you think. As I said earlier, the main reason this is in this list anyway is because I'm curious about purple sets, so let me know. The MechMerlin verdict is maybe a week maybe, because I can't see it, who knows. Next is GMK Dandy, a set posted back in May by Sour MK. GMK Dandy is a green and white set that uses slightly warmer stock colors from GMK and draws simple inspiration from the colors of dandelions. Kits are not finalized, but looks like we got a base, novelty, and spacebar kits. There's an older posting for kits, but I think the one marked August is the newest one. It's also got 2 dust mats available, one in green and one in white. Let's check out some renders. As you can see, this set works great on white or green colored boards. The only vendor currently tagged is Prototypist, but there's no indication of a date or a price as of yet. You guys know I'm a big fan of lighter, neutral colored sets, and this one really speaks to me. I like how he's chosen warmer colored stock colors over the more vibrant ones, as this makes it seem like it would fit on any color board. I know his renders are all on white and green boards, but I could see this working out on maybe silver boards and kinda on a black board. I think this set would also look good on polycarb. I do have to say that the theme on this set isn't very strong, but maybe that's because I'm not into gardening or flowers. Looking at the novelties, we see that there's something that looks like a dandelion. Without knowing that this set is based on dandelions, I'd actually think that these are buttons off of a game controller. In fact, if you actually look up what the word dandy means, it means a man who puts particular importance on physical appearance. Perhaps this set should have just been called GMK Dandelion instead of GMK Dandy. The MechMerlin verdict for the set is maybe. Next up is the Lunar II, posted by IO3 on September 18th. If you're not familiar with IO3, he's one of the more popular designers in our community. He's responsible for such boards such as the Polaris, the KBD67 Mark II soldered. He's made a whole lot more, but I think these are the 2 boards that are greatly mass-produced. Anyway, the Lunar II is basically an Apple AEK in 60% compact form factor. And yes, you guessed it, it's going to be an Alps-based board. For those familiar with the Lunar I, changes for this board include a reduced front ledge height for easier typing, a 1.2mm plate, and a weight has been added for additional heft and aesthetic accent. It's also smaller and no longer has an integrated plate. This is a fairly substantial tray mount case, weighing in at roughly 1.2 kilograms. Even though it's tray mount, The mounting method secures the plate to the case by using O-ring tipped standoffs for more flex when typing. The board is available in silver and gray. PCB has ESD protection, in-switch LED support for some ALP switches, and solenoid support, giving you a very audible click when typing. You can of course choose to turn it off if it gets too annoying for you. The board will be sold through switch plate peripherals and will only have 100 units total. As someone who was really into ALPs and still has a bag full of SKCL switches, this is something I've been waiting for. I currently have a 3D printed AEK case courtesy of Keyboard Bell, but I've been wanting something a little more substantial, a little more classic to do justice to the legendary AEK keyboards. This might just be it. I've been a big fan of IO3's designs for a while, but the main thing that drew me to this case was the solenoid. I'm gonna agree with Zyber here when he says, "You had me at solenoid support." Unfortunately, since this is a prototype, the solenoid cutout is not present. I'm hoping to see some updates to see where it is. Anyway, the MechMerlin verdict for this case is a weak recommend. We don't get too many ALPS boards in the community these days, especially since MX is doing really well. So when this pops up, this really catches my attention. Next up is the KL90 posted by Kiko's Lab on September 16th. The KL90 is a 75% with separated out arrow keys and a rightmost column with the separated macro column on the left with 2 rotary encoders, or 1 encoder and 1 OLED. The board will come with either a soldered or a hot swap PCB, and the mounting will be sandwich style with FR4 plates. Cases will be available in both 3D printed and aluminum machined. The aluminum machined case will also be gasket mounted. No mention of ESD protection or QMK VIA support. At this point, it's still a very sparse IC with only an Imgur album and no vendor or pricing as of yet. Honestly, my love for 75% is what drew me to this interest check. The aluminum variant with the OLED is probably my favorite look out of all these vendors. I love how the arrow keys and rightmost column are separated, and I like the addition of that left macro column. The double rotary encoder seems a little wishy-washy to me, not sure if I actually like it or not, but that's perhaps because I still haven't quite figured out what to do with just one of them. Perhaps my opinions will change in the future. There are a couple things that worry me about this interest check. The 3D printed edition looks low profile. I can't verify for sure as no side angles are given, but it seems that the bottom of the switches are exposed. The USB-C cutout looks very lazily done. It's just a big cutout and not form-fit, similar to a lot of low-budget 60% cases. On top of that, I would have preferred if the USB port was in the middle instead of on the side like this. Last but not the least, at the time of me reading through this, it seems that Kiko's Lab has very little posts and has only joined Geekhack as of September 16th, 2020. The picture and the idea drew me in, but there's honestly not very much on this IC to keep me hooked. The MechMerlin verdict is a weak maybe. I'd love to see more information posted here and a little bit more engagement from the interest check runner. Next up is the Kangaroo left-handed 108. This is an interest check posted by Jono Caldwell on September 24th. This is a made in Australia, full-size, left-handed mechanical keyboard. This comes in both an aluminum version weighing at roughly 4 kilograms and a full brass at roughly 9 kilograms. PCB will support both QMK and VIA. Other than that, there's really no mention of vendors, pricing, or availability. However, there are prototypes. Pictures have it in a fancy wooden box, but apparently that's a one-off and not for sale. Really wish it will come with that wooden box because that's just sexy right there. Honestly, I would never daily use anything larger than a TKL, but I think this is a great move. There are very few custom full-size boards in our community, and putting the arrows, navigation, and numpad off to the left gives it a very different take. On that note, I do have to say that it would have been better to keep a standard 100% rather than doing something so drastic. In fact, it might have been better to just put the numpad on the left instead of the navigation keys and all that. In my opinion, this is a very good looking board, and that Kangaroo logo looks very good. However, from what I've seen in the past, the demand for full-size boards is actually kinda low in our community. In fact, the call for full-size mechanical keyboards seem to come from the newer people in this community. This poses a problem because people new to the community are also less inclined to spend hundreds on a board. This board looks like it's going to sell for $300 to $400 on the low end for just the 4 kilogram version. So who is this board for anyway? I think this is a board for someone who's been in the community maybe a year or two at this point, but still hasn't forgotten their love of full-size mechanical keyboards. The MechMerlin verdict for this is a weak maybe. Alright guys, thanks for joining in on the show. If you have any questions about any of the 5 interest checks that I just talked about, links are down below. Comment, subscribe, like, do all those things, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Goodbye now.